Hello everyone. So I saw this morning a video by Chris Saints. I don't quite know how to say her last name. I'm very sorry. But and she picked the idea up from elsewhere. So I actually don't know who to give credit to, who had the original idea, which really bums me out. But the idea is to go through your fountain pen brands and choose which pen from each brand would you keep if you were only allowed to keep one pen per brand. And I thought, oh, this is fun. I need to jump on this. So, yeah. So, and I'm trying to, I have no idea how I'm going to do this without talking for way too long, but I'm mostly going to explain why I chose the one I chose and not so much why I didn't choose the ones that I didn't choose. So first up, Lamy. Not much in my collection. I have one Safari, I have one Studio, and then I have my Lamy 2000. And I mean, this is the easiest pick possible. That's why I started with this. It is absolutely my Lamy 2000. It is not even a competition. That's the pen to go to for Lamy for me, absolutely. So I have a medium here. I don't use it enough, but every time I use it, I absolutely love it. So that's very easy for me. It must be the Lamy. Next up, and I will have to break those videos down because I had to kind of collect. Well, I'm going to just kind of stitch them together. Anyways, but the next up that I have organized here are my pilots, and I have a few more pilot Kakunos. Didn't collect all of them. So there's the pilot Kakuno, the pilot Prera. Is that right? Yes. This one has a flex. It has a flex nib. And then I have a pilot vanishing point. And then I have my pilot custom 74. And so this one is really quite a bit harder to choose, but it's definitely between the, yeah, it must be between the vanishing point and the pilot custom 74, even though I have had some fun. No, this is a Falcon. It's a pilot Falcon. I'm not sure. Yeah. But between those two, I honestly have not used my vanishing point enough, but I don't remember it being that memorable. I think maybe I have just been totally hyped up from all of the talks. And the last ink I had in my Pilot Custom 74 was fun and I loved it. And so I will have to go with this one. It's a medium nib. It is a cartridge converter. It is a gold nib, and it's not my favorite ever, but they're growing on me. I think it's just because I like broader nibs. The pilots are just a little bit on the fine side. Actually, my vanishing point is a broad. I just need to keep playing with this more. So this is one pen that I just really hasn't gotten enough love. So this might absolutely change. Then this one is fun and kind of easy, actually, surprisingly, are my Pelikans. So I think I have shared this before, but when I went to school in Switzerland, we all had to write with a fountain pen and we were given a Pelikan. So it was a school Pelikan. I can't find it and I'm always kind of looking for it. And so the Pelikan was the first pen that I wanted to have when I went back and kind of rediscovered fountain pens. So we have a little Pelikano. I have a Pelikan M200. Then we have the 400. Then I have two M600s, the black and the green. And then I have my vintage. And easy choice. Kind of surprised me how easy it was. But if I had to just keep one Pelikan, it is absolutely going to be this Pelikan M600. This is actually the first fountain pen, one of the first I got when I got into the hobby, which is crazy to get an M600. But it was like my love for the Pelikans and I just like totally splurged. So that was kind of like a really weird way to start a hobby with going like for one of the best pens I have. And it's a medium nib. I love the nib. It is so smooth. It's so perfect. And that white and green, it's just, I like it. I like it a lot. The 600 is bigger, suits me better than the 400s, even though I think the 400, the tortoise shell is very cute. But there's also some memory associated with this because it was the first one I got. I love it. It writes really well. And that is why it is absolutely clearly my M600. All right. So then, as you are all aware, I also, oh, geez, excuse me. I just hit my head on my camera. I also really love I love my Leonardos. I have a Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. This is the old Momento Zero, which is still a cartridge converter, and which was the first one that got me into my love for Leonardos. And then, oh my God, this is kind of like when the primary manipulations came out, I don't know, it was probably during a time last summer when I wasn't doing so well. And so this is, for me, I think it's actually quite embarrassing. I actually have a fourth one. I haven't even shown you this one. I was totally got into this whole like, oh my God, I want the primary manipulation pen and I love the Leonardos and there's a special edition and I need to get them. And I mean, looking back, that is probably one of my big regrets. I would not have gotten 4 of them. And then I recently got the Nana Rosa with the smooth cursive italic. But I do love all of them and I like writing with all of them. And so in that way, it's like, I mean, if I do splurge, that is probably, at least I splurge on something that I really like writing with. But I find it quite icky and embarrassing to admit. But if I had to choose one, it is absolutely going to be this primary manipulation one. This is the one which is the gloss. And it is the one that has a architect nib. And I just love my architect nibs. So if I just had to stay with one Leonardo, then it would be absolutely this one. No question. Well, that's actually not quite true. My Nana Rosa with the cursive smooth italic. And I love, love, love the color of this pen. So I shouldn't say that. That was actually quite a tough choice between those two. But I think because of my love for the architect nib and because I like the fun of those color swirls, it is going to have to be this one. Then, this is kind of boring because I have 3 Benus. They're all Goulet Pen special editions. And this is a medium nib, which is just too fine. I don't love the nib. I don't love the color on this one this much, so this one is out. And then between those two, I think I prefer, just in terms of the color, right now, I prefer the Earl Grey. So that would be my choice to keep. But they're both equally wonderful writers. So yeah, hard to kind of argue. Then my Esterbrook's, and I actually have 2 SDs, and then I have a junior. And this one is fun. Like, I actually think this pen for me is way too small, like too narrow. And I have 2 of them, which is like another one of those kind of embarrassing things to admit. But when I had the subscription box, I accidentally got 2 of those, and one has a broad nib that writes amazingly. I love the broad nib on one of those pens, but it's just too small to write longer. And then honestly, between those 2, they're both a broad nib. It's a total toss-up. And even though I love orange, if someone would force me, I would probably go with this one. I don't actually know why. It very much surprises me. But I think it's probably because it's different to any other pen I have in terms of the color combination. It's kind of fun. It writes well. But I mean, it's just a color choice at this point. Then the last, not last ones, but then I have 3 Franklin Christophs. Those 2 are the same model. They're the Model 20, and then this is a special edition. And then this one is a Wonder Pens exclusive. And this is tricky. This one I have not played with enough, so I'm going to exclude it just because I don't know the pen well enough. And now these two, I was actually confident that I would go with the Wonder Pens exclusive, just because I actually really love the color. It's kind of fun. But right now, I have such fun with this pen. It has their CS, like their sig nib, and I have it inked up with Robert Oster River of Fire, and it writes so amazingly well that I think right now, I mean, I could also switch, like if I could switch nibs and I had this nib in this pen, it would be this pen. But if I would be forced to choose right now, I would go with this one. So it's a Model 20 in bottle green, I think. This is also like a cartridge converter, if I can open it. Yes. And so that would be my Franklin Christoph choice. I also can't forget which ones I have actually inked up so that I'm not going to put them all back. So that would be that. All right, next sets. So the next ones I wanted to show you are my Opus 88. And the Opus 88, so it's, you can see here, right? So I have a pocket one. Then I have this one. I have the orange and blue, and then I have those two. And the Opus 88 is a fascinating one for me. I went through a phase where I love them. I still like the eyedropper, especially to test out new inks, but I totally haven't touched them in quite a while, and I'm not quite sure why. So I think when I had to choose one, so this was my first one, it probably would be between those two. And I think this is a broad nib. And then this one is also a broad nib, but I think I may have had an architect nib on one of those. And I think I probably go with the original one. That is probably the one I would keep. And I want to use them again. And I don't like, it's really, I love them. I wanted to write with them. And then I just stopped using them. And I think they're not cheap, but they feel a little bit like cheap pens. And they're squeaky, but they write really nicely. But yep, if forced at a gunpoint, I would just probably go with my original one. Then, let me pull those out, would be my Kawecos. And I have a really weird relationship with Kawecos. I wanna love them more than I do. So I have two student ones, and I actually really like the coloration of this one. And I recently had an ink in here that worked really well. So that is definitely in contention between those two. Then I have a Lilliput. It's fun. I love looking at it. I love the idea of it, that it's so tiny, but way too small for me to write. So that one is out. Then between my AL Sports, this one is out. I like the heavier ones. And then between the brass and the black one, I think in terms of just the feel of it, the brass might be growing on me, and I do love it. But if I had to choose between those two, I would go with the AL Sport. I love the feel of this pen. And then between those two, and I also have to say, I was struggling with Kawecos a lot at the beginning. And no, Siri thinks I'm talking to her. And I realized I needed double broad for my Kawecos, and that has made all of the difference. And if I had to choose between those two, I think just because of the fact that the AL Sport it's just such a different kind of pen. And it's a fun pen to put in the pocket. I like playing with it. It's actually a great fidget toy. It would have to be this one. The one thing I don't love is that I actually use like an old cartridge, and I don't necessarily like that much. But I would definitely, in terms of Kawecos, I would choose this one if I had to. And then I think I have a lot of other ones where I just have like brands where I just have one of them. But the last big one are my Twispies. And I have a lot of Twispies. There's actually more. I also have those with the fun nips, and I have so many different ones. And this was a hard one, and I was thinking about this beforehand. And let me pull you out the ones that were the final contenders. I also have, like, I do this sometimes. I have some duplicates, like, and I should at some point also talk about this. I have heard about this, like, when I started the hobby, that everyone says, like, you know, take it slow. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't. And now I'm going, like, I should have taken it slower. So, but then I had like, oh, I love this one. Oh, I need another one. Yeah. So, and then I'm really bad at selling my pens. I don't really want to sell my pens. I'm also really bad at remembering to sell pens and then worrying about keeping up from, anyways. But long story short, if I had to choose between a Twispy, it came down to those two choices. So this is the VAC 700R with the rainbow coloration. Wow. This is a vacuum filler, which is not my favorite way to fill a pen, but it has a fun nib. I like the feel of it. It's nice and big. But I think I know if I had to choose one of my Twispies, it would be this one. And I have talked about this pen before, I think. So it's a Diamond 580 ALR. And it has a medium nib. For whatever reason, no one has been able to answer me that. This nib is amazing. It's springy, it's fun, it's different than any of my other Twispy nibs. I actually really like the little section here. And yeah, so if forced, out of all of my Twispies, this would be the one to keep. And I think those are all of my brands that I have multiple pens for. I have Monte Grappa where I have two, but it's just, yeah. But yeah, that's it. That was actually kind of fun. I am really curious to see what other people come up with this. It's a fun idea. Thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully talk to you soon.